So we continue our focus on the first couplet of the 8 earthly winds that Susan and Bill and Jay have been so eloquently describing and that we've been practicing with, praise and blame. I've seen these 8 universal, ordinary, and inevitable human experiences described in some other ways. The 8 worldly concerns, I've seen it described as the 8 vicissitudes. And it's also been described as the 8 worldly conditions. I particularly like the descriptor of earthly winds, maybe because winds have been a very recent visitor in my life. Last week, we were awakened by the emergency alert on our cell phones a bit before 4 a.m., loudly and very dissonantly announcing the potential arrival of a tornado. The warning was quite specific, describing the towns in its path and a precise time of arrival and actual duration. It suggested we seek shelter in the basement and stay away from windows. My children were all fast asleep, and the warning was being issued for a sum total of 20 to 25 minutes. Thankfully, tornadoes are not a very common occurrence in my area, and my wife and I felt uncertain and hesitant as to how seriously to treat this warning. The kids needed their sleep, and we knew if we awakened them, it would be the end of their sleep for the night and ours. On the other hand, if this would be a serious event with any real danger, then of course we knew what we needed to do. We listened to the rain pound harder on the roof, the skylight and against the windows, and the wind picking up speed. And a big part of the dilemma was, this will all be over in another few short minutes. Perhaps we should just wait this out. Knowing how short-lived this event was actually complicated the dilemma for us. I was thinking about the irony of this. How nice would it be if every time we experienced a moment of being praised, complimented, or given credit, or a moment where a complaint is being directed at us, when we are being blamed or criticized, if we were also issued an accompanying timestamp, this and this mind state, this and this body state, this and this heart state will be experienced, and it is going to be precisely for this and this amount of time that this moment will last. And then it's going to pass, and it's all going to be over. Like the next morning when we awoke, the ground was wet, the sun was shining, the winds had died down, and it was all over, like nothing had even happened. And in case you're wondering what actually happened, I'm glad that I can share that thankfully no tornado had touched down, not by me, nor in the surrounding areas included in the warning. And then when I was sitting and preparing this talk, we were in the midst of Tropical Storm Henri, with flash flood warnings issued in our area. It was initially a hurricane, but it had gotten downgraded. Of course, we tend to take weather reports for granted. And however unpleasant or inconvenient this sort of weather is, we also know, with a fair degree of accuracy, how long the weather pattern will last. I looked out the windows as I was typing these words. The rain was coming down hard, but I knew it wouldn't last. And this knowledge kept me grounded, gave me a sense of safety, a way to navigate through the storm. And for precisely how long do our own specific personal weather patterns last? Yes, they can get quite intense. We can be held in the firm grip of desire, of wanting the adoration we may be receiving, the compliments and the praise being given to us, to just keep on going. We may want the warmth and the swelling, expanding feelings inside to keep on going so we can feed and feed. And inversely, we may become really tight and hard in reaction to being blamed in the midst of another person's displeasure toward and about us. We want to turn away from it, fight against it, run from it, or redirect it in some way. But we also know, as we sit here together now, grounded and centered, present and reflective, that every single one of those charged experiences are temporary. Impermanence, as we know, being one of the three marks of existence that we've discussed and explored, along with the inevitable experiences of dukkha, the sufferings and discontentments we all experience. So none will last. Sooner or later, the winds die down. The storm passes, with or without some damage in its wake, but it passes and it's over. The next moment or series of moments have arrived. In the earlier years of my career as a psychotherapist, I worked with I'd invite them to list these examples of explosivity with me, every single one of them. I'd explain to them, hey, these events are highly predictable. Together, we can probably account for 90 to 95% of these instances. These challenging moments occur with predictability. And with this predictability comes preparedness. We can stop being reactive to these events, struggling to plug an exploding or imploding dam. And we can instead become more proactive towards children, learning how to head them off at the pass. And we can learn where and when and how to skillfully and effectively intervene, at least many of these times, to prevent the meltdowns from actually occurring in the first place. It took some time. But if parents really open to this sort of exploration, the predictive knowledge was so helpful, moving from a sense of helpless reactivity to proactive parenting. What about us? How many times have I experienced a moment, made some mental note after the experience was over about my own reactivity and unskillfulness? And I said to myself, okay, this won't happen to me again. I'll remember next time to use better, nicer words, or to curb my anger and my tone, or to be more patient and hear the other person out. Truly listen, or to be more reflective and with less, or better yet, no judgment. And then the next such situation arises, and there I go again, off to the reactivity raises. And David here is the front runner. Or when someone is expressing appreciation to me, how many times I felt an inner squirming happen? This weird mix of pleasure and desire for more admiration, more appreciation, strangely mixed with discomfort and or the desire to shut it down, to stop or redirect the person who is expressing themselves to me. Reactivity churning and roiling inside me. One of the things I love so much about the practice that we do is if I'm having trouble identifying a particular pattern or reactivity in my life off the cushion, it will show up sooner or later on one way or another on the cushion. Because my habits and conditions are not intelligent, they don't discern. Created from causes and conditions, they just show up when the right mix of external and internal circumstances call for them to. Discernment is my task. seeing them for what they are, this is within my own innate capacity. I am not my habits and conditioning. Developing the space to listen, to see, to hold, to settle, to soothe, to ground, to breathe into the space, to loosen and soften into and with awareness. These are our meditative practices in action, in practice. What non-judgmental, careful awareness is like in actuality. So on the cushion, as we practice, seeing the blowing of the personal earthly winds that are in today's particular internal weather patterns. Seeing them as we've discussed in the past, how we can see into the common hindrances which inevitably arise in our meditation practice. They are our opportunities for practice, for growth, for expanding, deepening, and strengthening our capacity for holding space, for the unfolding of experience with care and with tenderness. All storms pass, all winds die down, blow over. Pleasant and pleasurable will continue to feel pleasant and pleasurable. Unpleasant and painful will continue to feel unpleasant and painful. Like grass in the midst of a storm, we bend in and with the wind. And when the winds pass, we are still standing. We are still rooted. Thank you for your caring attention.